3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Straight from the book, just to jump right into it. 49% of the labor force, 68 million people, work in fields that are immediately, at this time, being automated away. Office jobs, sales and retail, food prep, transportation, production. So let me go through a couple of these. What is your guess on what the percentage of office jobs that can be automated away this very second is? Take a guess.
60%.
Close, 70. 70% of all data collecting tasks are automatable. So that number jumped out at me right out the gate. This is in, I think, the second chapter of the book. Just about all automation stuff, when we're talking about stuff that can be automated away, is simple data gathering jobs. And Google, Amazon, Apple, they're all investing billions of dollars into AI that right now are in the next year and 2 years are going to be able to massively wipe away these jobs. And if you think about it, say that there's a job, somebody's in an office and they're saying, well, maybe only half of my job is actual data collecting. Well, then you just wipe away 50% of that office. And the next year, you do the exact same thing. And the next year, you do that same thing over and over again. Do you know they're creating some AI now that when you call into customer service, how frustrating it is when you get somebody with a really thick accent or if it's an automated service, you're just hitting 111 all over again until you get somebody that you can speak with. They've created an accent erasing software so you can talk to somebody and they'll sound plain as day and won't know any difference, but it can be somebody in India just pressing a button to give a pre-recorded response.
That would be great because I can't call anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
The Indian accent is like the hardest thing for me to understand.
Yeah, it's just difficult. It's not, it's not anything against them. It's just you're trying to get something accomplished very quickly, and it just makes it that much harder.
Well, even the automated push a button. Usually, you can't even find the one that you're looking for. It'll not be what you want, and you click it anyway, and then you get some lady, and she's like, "Well, you're called the wrong place. You got it," and then you got to start it all over.
Exactly.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Sales and retail. 1 in 10 people in the workforce works in sales and retail. Do you know one mall in this country closes per week? 52 per week in the United States. And think about how much of that tax base from the community. Think of Eastgate. Well, Eastgate Mall is on its way out anyway.
It's close.
A perfect example. Think of Kenwood then. Think if Kenwood lost the mall. I mean, that would be a huge hit to their economy for that to be gone. And even more than that number, there's a whole slew of communities where the anchor store is on its way out. JCPenney, Sears
is shutting everything
Dillard's.
down.
There are hundreds of retail shops closing up. Take a wild guess why that is. Amazon controls 43% of e-commerce in this country.
And pay zero taxes.
Exactly. Yes.
Speaking of Amazon, if you click the link in the YouTube video below, you can support this channel by buying the product that we're supporting. And this time around, I think we're going to go with the Echo Dot because it lines up with Audible, another one of our sponsors.
Beautiful.
Go ahead, Dallas.
I'm going to keep bashing them.
That's fine. As long as they pay me, I don't care.
Have you ever heard of diapers.com?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're not a thing anymore. You know why? Because...
I have heard about this.
Yes. So Amazon's only been around since the mid-90s. And for the first 10 years of their existence, they didn't even turn a profit. And so, one of their big shareholders was like, you know what? I'm going to bet against Amazon this year because they don't turn any profits. And Jeff Bezos was like, Okay, we'll see about that. Doesn't invest in any new technology for a year, ramps up his prices for a year, and the stocks soar. And, these guys that have all this stock for Amazon just get burnt. So now nobody is betting against Amazon, obviously. So, but for diapers.com, they were wanting to bring them to the table to buy them out. They didn't want to do it. So Amazon doesn't have to turn a profit. They just either broke even or were even losing money to the point where diapers.com had no chance but to ultimately
eliminate their competitor.
Exactly. They're fucking ruthless.
They're just going to buy up all the smaller businesses, which is every business in the world.
Yeah, it's eviscerating the sales and retail market. And we all love Amazon.
Yeah,
we're a sponsor. Our sponsor. Yeah. We love them.
We're Amazon affiliates. Damn it.
Yeah, but we got to look at what the retail market is looking like when we buy all of our products straight from them. Or there's still 57% of other markets that are online where people aren't necessarily needed to work in an actual store.
Well, on that note, also, if you think about it, how Amazon's putting these businesses out of business, podcasts are kind of doing the same thing to radio.
Yeah, it's definitely a changing world, but that's a little different because we're not necessarily taking our radio's job, and that's not a whole lot of actual bodies that are leaving. We're talking about 10% of the U.S. workforce that's being wiped away. Food prep. Apparently this one is in less danger than the other ones, but fast food in particular, 73% of food preparation is automatable.
They've already started at Mount Orr McDonald's. They've already got the little kiosks.
Yeah. McDonald's is the big one. 4 million people work in fast food alone. Let me try to give you a sense of what, we throw out these numbers, but what does that actually mean? So 3.6% is the unemployment rate right now. That means 5.7 million people are actively looking for work. So when I say that there's 4 million people that are working in fast food, say 50% of them are about to be wiped out of a job, that's a huge hit, And I read this stat, aside from the book, 83% of jobs in the country make under $20 an hour are all subject to automation. We're not talking in 15 years. We're talking between now and the next 5 years. So this is like this huge problem that's just hanging right over our heads, and the only person that's talking about it is Andrew Yang. It's fascinating to me that it's not a bigger topic right now than it is.
So now I'm kind of dumb in all this. Andrew Yang is against the automation.
Andrew Yang is the one that's providing all of this information, and he's not against it. He's saying, look at what's happening. We have to make a plan of what we're going to do about this.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Here's one that I argue about with my brother all the time. He's going to be on in a couple weeks, sort of to talk about this, but other things. But
you talk about Levi?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that fucking card game he made me play that one night. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. That was a rough one. Were you here for that?
No,
we were all...
Jesus.
Man, I hope Grandma doesn't listen to this one. That was a bad night, man. Transportation. Trucking is the most popular job in this country in 29 states. 3.5 million truck drivers. Double that number for people that are working in truck stops, diners, your lot lizards, those kind of jobs. Elon Musk has already rolled out. You just get that joke?
Rewind it. Clarify lot lizards for the kids at home.
Oh, yeah. Lot lizards are nice ladies that hang out at truck stops.
They're really just lonely. I think.
They're just lonely. They just come out and hang out and just have fireside chats with truck drivers.
Let's hold that thought and ask Levi about lot lizards when he's on.
I bet he has stories.
He probably has a slew of lizards.
What do you call a group of lizards? Is that a herd or a gaggle?
Gaggle. I think that's the noise they make is a gaggle.
So Elon Musk has already rolled out these automated self-driving cars. Columbus, Ohio, has a 35-mile stretch of highway where that they've dedicated to testing out these trucks. So if you can have a system that will reduce fuel costs, reduce labor costs, will have fewer accidents, and increase productivity. Drivers can only, Levi's going to talk about this too. Drivers can only drive a certain amount of hours. I forget what that is.
14 hours a day.
Okay. A self-driving truck can drive
24,
non-fucking stop. 365.
But like, if we have all this automation, I mean, that's great. You know, it's cutting costs and everything. Who the fuck's going to buy all these products that they're delivering stuff? Ain't nobody going to have a job.
That's true.
Yeah. So in theory, if 100% of the trucking market was automated, the industry would save so much money. They could pay all 3.5 million truck drivers $40,000 a year, which is the average, not salary, but average pay income that truck drivers make, to just sit at home. That's how much money that the industry would save.
I'd be sitting at home.
Yeah. So Yang doesn't think this is going to just be, boom, we have these automated trucks and 3.5 million drivers are out of a job. He thinks it's going to roll out in phases. So at first there'll be a driver as a fail-safe. So you're just sitting there and you can work longer hours because you can take a nap or whatever. You can get back up, and as long as you're kind of vaguely giving the truck, you know, some sort of supervision, you know, that would be phase one.
But that's an untrained profession.
What do you mean?
You could get an 18-year-old to do that job as opposed to
Oh, I see what you're
an
saying.
experienced trucker.
Well,
And pay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it
and
would
no.
still go. It would still go to, you know, the truck drivers currently.
yeah, because
but-
they got to know what to look for as
Right.
far as like
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
not right,
Mhm.
or if something does go wrong, I'm sure there'd be a manual mode to flip it in, so they got to drive it at that point.
But-
I'm just assuming on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with these new Tesla semis, they're not going to be anything like the trucks that are out there now.
Well, he thinks it's apparently much easier to automate highway driving than it is off of a highway. So one of his other theories on these phasing is that you might have a sender and a receiver that drives the truck from point A to the highway, and then it drives itself. You know, say it was going from here to Cleveland. You know, you drive it from here to 32. It takes off from 32, goes to 275, picks up 71, goes all the way to Cleveland, and then your receiver sends somebody to whatever that exit is, picks it up, takes it to where it drops it off, brings it back, and so on. So you'd only have a driver for that little segment. Everything on the highway, though, is no driver at all. He also sees where there could be convoys where you have, say you have, this would be more for like, you know, going from one end of the country to the other. But if you had, you know, 5 trucks, the lead truck would have a driver. Maybe it's just a fail-safe guy. The other 4 trucks are just following the leader. And he sees this phase is rolling out between now and 2030. But here's the one part that I really don't understand of the trucking industry is he points out that 90% of trucks on the road today are belong to companies that have 10 trucks or less. So I would think that, you see what I'm saying? I would think that if this was going to be rolled out in massive amounts, it would be the trucks that have 1,000 truck fleet or something like that.
Like R&L.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have to be.
that's what I would think. But
Well, yeah, because I mean, what would the price even be on an automated? I mean, because the smaller companies, in the long run, maybe. But if
we should look up what.
yeah,
what
I'm
one
going
of
to look
those
that
new-
up because
new
would
trucks
they small companies really be benefiting from this? You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially if they've already got their trucks and everything.
Well, I mean, you're cutting fuel. You're cutting paying the driver. Like I said earlier, I mean, you are going to. I think the challenge for a smaller company would be the unknowns and the risks that you're accepting, you know, versus just going the status quo.
Well, you're also going against everything that you've known.
Ever known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Levi, since he's been born,
Right.
he's been around trucks.
Yeah.
Well, it says here Tesla Semi could be a game changer at $180,000. That's not really that much more expensive than a really nice semi.
What's a new truck cost? I should know this.
I'm wanting
but I
to.
don't.
I'm wanting to say it's in the hundred thousands.
Yeah, that sounds cheap. I might buy one just to have.
Yeah, that's
Why not, man?
that's Brad money. Yeah, he can get that either.
In the next year or two, Elon Musk has said, this is still under the transportation umbrella, but Uber is not going to be paying for drivers much longer. There's going to be a day. Go ahead.
New trucks begin at 80,000 and run up to 150,000 or more. So in reality, I mean that's
But you're saving
3 years
money
of not
too.
paying your truck driver
Yeah.
40 grand.
And fuel,
Yeah,
just the fuel.
yeah.
But then again, a lot of these truck drivers they own their own trucks too. So
Yeah,
the
well,
company's not actually paying for the truck.
That's to reduce the overhead of the truck itself.
Right.
So it's the company that's assigning the lessee their hauls.
Oh, well, no, that was a false statement. That was for Tesla's all electric semi.
I thought that's what we're looking for, right?
I thought you were looking at the self-driving ones.
Oh, I don't think they have it yet. I think they're close, but I don't think they. I don't know. I did read about a fleet that's. I think they're out west that just goes across the desert.
Here it is.
Okay.
The cost of a self-driving truck varies by model, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a low end 150, a high end of 300 to 500,000. So that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's more of a.
I think the point that we're looking at in all of this is that it's on its way.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah. Regardless, it's on its way, and the trucking industry doesn't see it.
No, they're not ready at all.
It's not even a discussion. And when it does come up, they'll get very defensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, anybody's going to get defensive over their job, though. I mean, their livelihood.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the point, and maybe his whole book is saying, like, look, and he does make this point. He's not trying to say that just because the job is being automated away, that your value is low. And automation doesn't just apply to blue-collar jobs. It's going to affect white-collar jobs, too. Don't think of it as, non-cognitive jobs that are going to get wiped away. Anything that it's more routine versus non-routine that's going to be wiped away.
I mean, I feel like the only thing that you couldn't automate is like art.
They have. It's funny you bring that up. They have. He shows one picture in the book. I wish I had it with me, where they have a bot that's basically has examined all these paintings and then takes all this data from these paintings of what actually is art and creates its own painting.
I hate this.
Well, that and you remember that robot chick you were talking about?
Yeah.
I just watched a video that got posted probably a week ago. It was brand new. She was on some talk show. It was very creepy, by the way.
Yeah.
But she learned to draw. That bitch learned to draw. I can say bitch because it's a robot. That bitch learned to draw.
This shit's getting scary, man.
Well, imagine this. Imagine you drive your electric car to work, right?
Oh, I think about this all the time. Like, get an extra 20, 30 minutes of sleep. You have a toilet in your car. You take your morning shit on the way to work.
That's not where I was going, but I mean,
Yeah,
that would
because
be good, too.
are we talking about electric cars or self-driving cars?
Well, they'd be both.
Well, no, because we have electric cars now.
Yes, I guess I'm talking about fully autonomous.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the future, Musk has said you'll be able to drive your car to work. This would be perfect for me working downtown. Uber no longer has. Say this is in 5 years. Uber no longer has drivers, so my car can drop me off at work. It can spend the next 8 hours driving around town, picking up people, driving them to where they want to go. Your car's making money for you during the day. When you're off your shift, it comes back, picks you up, takes you home.
I would rather get in a car with nobody driving than step foot in a fucking Uber. Like they'll kill
Absolutely.
You get, what about you get You leave work. Your car's been driving Uber. All these crazy people. Your car's destroyed.
My car smells like piss.
Yeah,
Homeless people
vomit
fucking in the back seat.
Hey, but if that bad boy just maybe $500 for the day,
Yeah.
Hey,
I'll
self-washing
clean up some
cars too.
vomit.
Yeah.
Self-washing too. Then we're good. We're golden.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Spray them down at the end.
Have you seen the Cybertruck yet?
Yeah, I love it.
I do too. I do too.
Everybody's talking so bad about it.
It looks like something straight out of a 1996 video game, but
Yeah.
I love it. Did you hear why it's so planar? Why he said that it's so planar? He said that the steel is so much thicker than a normal car's body that they usually stamp that metal. You can't stamp this shit. So they have to cut it. And in order for it to bend at all, you have to put a really deep score on the one side just so that it'll bend.
So it's just a tank.
Basically.
Well, that's scary.
What actually is the that material? Do you know, Trav?
I'm just looking at this ugly
Check
fucker.
picture.
Hold on. Some kind of space age shit, I'm sure. Aluminum truck.
And it looks
I love
huge, dude. It looks so much.
Did you see the picture of it pulling the F-150?
No, I was looking at it right before we started.
It looks like it's 1.5 times the
I was
size.
fucking
Yeah.
right. Tesla's Cybertruck is made of the same stainless steel alloy that SpaceX is using for Starship.
And it's under 40 grand.
Yeah. Wait. Is it?
That truck is under
oh,
40
yeah.
grand.
It's like 39, right?
Yeah. But you
It's an
can
ugly
buy
fucking
a
truck,
King
though.
Ranch that's more expensive
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. That might be my next vehicle.
Yeah. You drive that bad boy to work, and then that thing drives around and picks up people all day. How perfect would that be?
People would have to get used to seeing that on the road because if I saw that and the fucking door's just open and nobody's in it, I'm not getting the fucking that truck.
Dude, he tweeted out the other day that there was already 187,000 orders for that truck.
Now, what if you're stopped on 32 in this truck and someone's texting and they run straight into the back of you in this metal? It's just going to destroy them. It's going to be like hitting a wall.
Well, you know that all of these cars, everything that Tesla's rolling out at this point has automation sensors basically. It can pick up that there's somebody about to crash into you and can swerve out of the way, right?
Like on 32.
If I'm driving down 32 and there's a Tesla next to me and I fall asleep and I go like this and I'm about to hit him, that car knows before the driver knows that I'm about to hit him and will brake or some sort of maneuver get out of the way.
Yeah, I can see that because they have that technology on cars now. Like I think it's BMW. It'll know if you're veering off the road and it'll auto correct you.
This is a little different than that. This has.
Well, I know. I'm
From what I
just saying.
understand. But yeah, I get what you're
we
saying.
have the basis already because even when you're backing up, we have sensors that know something's near you.
Yeah.
Like it's not as extravagant,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Man, just to talk about that sort of AI, we had, we have product reps come into our office all the time, just showing us their latest and greatest stuff. We had a security cameras rep come in a few weeks ago, and these aren't just your normal, just set them up and you have, a live stream or whatever. These fucking things, the one that they were showing us was pointed at like an intersection, or it's technically showing like their front entry, but you could also see an intersection. It can sit there and tell you how many red cars drive by. It can tell you how many people under 6 foot tall came into the building. Any sort of data that you want to know, it can read all of those. And so it's showing people walking up, and it'll show, like, you'll be like, the guy that's showing it's like, let's check out what color shirts these guys have on. And then it'll put a ring around them. So they're walking and it's picking up their shirt and live stream showing you the data of their movements, everything. Fucking wild.
I don't like this.
So we're ready to talk about production then? Two guys that work in production.
Oh, I knew this was coming already.
Since 2000.
I kind of work in production.
Yeah.
I install
that's your
that's kind of my
that's your
forte.
employer.
Yeah.
5 million jobs have been lost since 2000. 1 in 6 of those that have lost their jobs never came back into the market and are living off of disability. And
Wait a minute. Say that again.
1 in 6 of the 5 million since 2000 that lost their jobs never came back into the workforce and have been living off of disability.
How the fuck did they just get disability? Because they got laid off.
They've found a way, apparently.
I guess if they had no other way to get a job.
Yeah. So 80% of that 5 million was directly due to automation. But the jobs that are going to exist, so as Moore's law, as we've talked about, takes effect, the jobs that are going to remain are going to require more education, more experience, and robots are a hell of a lot easier to employ when you consider that people won't fucking show up to work. The robot can just work nonstop at 100% efficiency. You don't have to pay for health care. That robot isn't going to sue you. That robot isn't going to fuck other robots. All of these things.
Yes.
But yeah, because even in some of the warehouses we do installs in now, it's automated forklifts. Like there's nobody on it. There's AI in warehouses already.
Yeah, we have an automated one in our warehouse.
Like and I used to work actually inside of warehouses, and I've seen temporary employees drive fucking forklifts, and I would rather have a robot
Yeah,
drive a
absolutely.
forklift.
Exactly. So like how I figure out a way to ask this. Like, I guess like how much do you think of your job right now would you think is possibly automatable?
Currently at my company,
Like I don't have data.
no,
like,
I know,
just asking.
but I'm just saying, like my company, I think it would take. I think what would happen more likely is our competitors would automate their job, and then my job before ours would, just because I think we're behind the time. But
I think about that too. Oh, good. Sorry.
I don't think it's that long. I don't think I'll retire before it's gone.
Yeah. I think about that part that you mentioned too, about, we're ciphering through this data, and probably a lot of people that are listening are like, these guys are full of shit. I don't see any of this coming. And that may be true for this particular area of the country. I mean, Mark Twain himself said Cincinnati is 10 years behind. What did he say? If the world ends, I want to be in Cincinnati because they're 10 years behind. So maybe we are. I mean, maybe the wide sweeping measures in all of these fields are happening in the next 5 years in most places throughout the country. But by benefit of us being so far behind the times, maybe we get an extra few years. But it is coming.
Yeah. Think about airplanes too. If you can automate a semi, all of air travel could be automated. Any kind of travel.
Yeah. So 100. So out of 326 million people in this country, 170 million of them are employed. So we talked about the 3.6 unemployment rate currently. Think about if only 10% of the 5 industries that we just mentioned, their jobs are automated away. I feel like that's pretty conservative. That would be 6.8 million people. That's more than double what the current unemployment rate is. What if it ends up being 25%? What if it ends up being 50%? I mean, what happens if tens of millions of people in this country are all unemployed at the exact same time?
It's going to get real thuggy.
There's going to be there's going to be a revolution one way or the other. We're either going to have to find a way to readjust our entire economy, or there's going to be a revolution that figures it out.
So he gives you this $1,000 a month, and you're expected to just never have to work. Like you just live off of this. Is that his idea, or
no? He's looking at really what he's calling. Well, we'll just jump into the UBI for right now. So it'd be $1,000 a month, adjusted for inflation, but no, nobody's expected to just live off of $1,000 a month. I mean, you're not going to thrive on that kind of money. what it is providing you a cushion.
Yeah, but like you said, if you lose all these jobs, people are going to be living off of 2,000 or 1,000.
Well,
I mean, is he thinking about making new jobs?
He doesn't really in this book spell out the creation of jobs, but what he is saying is if you have an extra cushion right now and in this transition phase that we're experiencing, that opens us up. Say he makes this example. Say now that I have a little bit of extra money in my pocket and I can kind of explore things that I've never wanted to explore about. What if I want to open up a bakery or something? I've never had the kind of money where if I go out and take that kind of risk, I have no money to fall back on if I go bankrupt, if it goes flat on its face. Well, you got Trav.
No, I was gonna look up how many Americans have a savings account. the second search after you type in how many Americans have is herpes. It says because since you're talking about that, like that pillow of money that if you have you can transition. It says 69% of Americans are saving 10% or less of their income. So America doesn't really have that pillow money. Most of America.
No, we don't. The median income in the U.S. is $31,000. The mean is $49,000. Do you guys remember from 5th grade math what those two terms mean?
Yeah.
That was like 25 years ago.
Okay, the median is if you lined up every single person in the country in a row, the person in the middle is the median. So that's the 31,000 number. That's the more accurate number in this case than the mean, which is 49,000, because the top 1% is dragging up that number by almost $20,000.
Makes sense.
So 1% of the country is dragging over 300 million people. You see what I'm saying?
So the real average is closer to the median.
So, we're just at a point where humans need work much more than work needs us. Only 13% of workers worldwide report that they're engaged in their job, and 32% here in the U.S. are engaged. And 40% of Americans have to work 50-plus hours a week just to make ends meet. There was a British economist in 1930 that predicted by 2030 that the Western world would only work 15 hours per week and the standard of living would be 4 times higher. So he's correct on the standard of living, but
because you're not giving me any hope for any of this.
I'm bringing forth a reality here that nobody else is talking about except for Andrew Yang.
Is Andrew Yang a whistleblower, like to alert everybody, or does he have a plan? Or
okay, let's talk about it.
Shit.
So man, I thought you guys would be arguing UBI with me.
No, I want that. I'll take the 1,000.
So I didn't realize this, but UBI was actually, it's not, I'm hoping that we can consider this idea in a vacuum and not Democrat versus a Republican idea. This is just data that we need to process.
Americans don't process data that way. You're either Democrat or Republican, and if you're a Democrat and it's a Republican idea, it's wrong.
We've got to stop that, man. We've got to stop this like team mentality. I have a sneaky suspicion that Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are going to end up. One will be the presidential nominee, and one will be the VP, whichever way works out. I would obviously like for Yang to be the presidential candidate and Tulsi to be VP, but apparently this idea is more of a Republican idea than it is a Democratic idea. So there's one state in the United States that actually gets a dividend right now. Do you know what it is? Alaska. Petroleum money. So they receive $1,000 to $2,000 per year. It's reduced poverty rate by 25% in Alaska. We haven't even talked about that. This on our economy right now, if we gave 2019, everybody tomorrow is receiving $1,000 a year. eviscerates all of poverty. I mean, now the most impoverished person in the country can at least pay to have a roof over their head.
$1,000 a year?
Month.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
the
saying
freedom dividend. So Alaska has the second lowest income equality in the year. Their birth weight has increased. So this, like I said, it was brought forth by the Republican governor. And it's just better to have money. This was the governor saying this. It's better to have money in citizens' hands than it is for the government to take it and just waste it.
Don't they already do that in other countries? Don't they already
The
have
dividend? Yeah. There's, well, I don't think they, or whatever they call it. Yeah, there's a few European countries that have started this, and they've, it's very prosperous. So I figured you guys would ask how he's going to pay for this thing.
Yeah.
So this would be paid for by a value-added tax. So you basically tax all of these robots a very small amount, and if you do it at half the rate that these European countries are assigning to their technology, it would more than pay for $1,000 a month, and it would grow our economy, he says, by 12% in 5 years.
But if you're losing all of these jobs to automation, that's what they're living on now. So there's going to be, I feel like it's going to be worse. You're going to have more poverty.
Yeah, because especially if these companies are paying extra tax on these robots, wouldn't they just raise the prices of their goods?
Well, he's studied that, and he says there's a slight increase, but your net from receiving the money is much higher than what you're paying. They've done basic income studies in Denver, Seattle. There was a town in Canada, and then also in low-income towns in North Carolina, Iowa, Indiana. They've shown that men in general have ended up working 1 less hour per week. Women have worked 5 less hours per week, and that's mostly because it's women that have recently had a baby. So they've gone through all these tests, and each time the results have been very similar. There's been reduced hospital rates. There's been lowered domestic violence, where people actually have some comfort, I guess. There's lower mental illness appointments. I mean, it affects more than just your income to have a little bit of leeway, I guess.
Well, what about welfare already?
So it would be one or the other. So you can't have food stamps plus dividend. You would have food, if you get $400 a month in food stamps, you would get $600 in a dividend. So that would cut the cost that some of the experts had predicted it would cost. I think over $3 trillion a year. That cuts the cost annually in half.
That's scary, because I used to live in low-income apartments around drug addicts, and they would constantly bring you their food stamp card and be like, hey, I'll sell you $400 for $200 cash. So now you're giving all these drug addicts this $1,000 where they were getting food stamps where they could only use on food that have kids, but now they have no money for food.
But they have $1,000
that the kids will never see, though.
Well, he has a point on here where he talks about spending on drugs and alcohol, and he says in their studies that data doesn't support the assumption. He says there's kind of like this look of poverty isn't about a lack of character. It's more of a lack of cash. These people are just low on money, and they're maybe there are a few of them that are going to make some really poor decisions of it, but the vast majority in these studies hasn't been the case. I'm just reporting,
I can't
reporting what he's saying.
Like you said, it's just an assumption that I'm making.
Yeah. So he pitches this idea of human capitalism. So instead of looking, at GDP, which is he describes it as being very outdated. Instead of looking at numbers like that and the stock market, which the top 20% of Americans own 80% of the stocks in this country, you and I aren't really too concerned about what our stocks are doing. I know we probably have a 401k, but it's really not a great way to look at what our market is doing. But there's no market, or the market undervalues parenting, arts and creativity, preventative care, infrastructure and public transportation. God knows our roads are all shit. Just a majority of activities that we need to function better as humans.
So these companies, these giant companies that don't pay taxes, why? First of all, why don't they pay taxes, and why couldn't that help pay for the dividend?
Well, that will pay for part of the dividend, and he doesn't dive into why they don't. But my assumption is that, say I'm Wilmington. Remember they were looking to bring in Amazon for the airport up there. If I'm Wilmington, I'm doing everything I possibly can to bring in those jobs. So that I'm the mayor of Wilmington, I can say I just brought in 3,000 jobs from Amazon. What can I offer you so that would entice you to come here? Oh, well, you don't have to pay taxes for the next 20 years.
Yeah, but what's the federal government care? I mean, they're not even paying government taxes.
Yeah,
federal government.
Yeah, I think it's probably, this is just me guessing. I mean, I could be way off, but I'm guessing that it's incentive money one way or the other, and they're dodging everything that they possibly can. I wish I had data on that.
It's the Church of Amazon. They're just going to run the entire world. Everything that we own is just going to be Amazon. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading some stories last week, I think, about should we start looking at Amazon as a monopoly. I mean,
absolutely. They're buying out all the small companies. Well,
Amazon's argument is going to be, we don't own the market of shoes. We only 0.5% of our money is coming from shoe sales. We don't own that. You know what I mean? Like, they only have a sliver of all these different markets. So
yeah, but they're destroying all the small businesses.
I agree with you. I'm just saying what their argument is going to be. So it's going to be interesting over the next couple of years, especially if by some miracle Yang gets into office. I mean, then it's definitely going to happen. But without him,
you think he's got a legitimate shot?
Yeah, I do. Apparently, Bill Clinton and John Kerry at this point in their cycles were polling at the same level or lower than what Yang is polling at right now. I think his message just has to get out. It's none of, like I've said it over and over again, none of the other candidates have even mentioned the topic. And have you guys watched any of these shitty ass debates?
He don't even get a chance.
They won't even let him talk, man.
No.
And when they do, they ask about stuff that's nowhere near the central focus of his campaign.
Healthcare. They always ask healthcare.
Yeah.
Then Bernie starts screaming and he don't even get to talk.
He has ideas of healthcare, and we can save that topic for another day. These debates have been.
I'm just saying that.
I'm just talking about the debates themselves. We've been talking about healthcare for as long as I can remember. I mean, if you're going to have a debate and only give the guy 6 minutes out of 2 hours to speak, let him speak about these ideas.
Yeah, but none of these debates are about issues. It's about entertainment. Like, that's the problem. Like the offices have turned into entertainment and more of a show. Yeah. And what can they do for us?
Yeah. Well, that's how we ended up with a reality star as our president now. He knows that we're a sucker for entertainment. That's why. I mean, say what you will about him. He's funny as shit when he tweets like his Iceland tweet. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Or was that Iceland or Greenland? Whichever one.
I think it was Iceland.
He's like, I promise I won't do this to Iceland. He shows a giant Trump tower.
Even 10 years ago, did you ever think our president would be tweeting? And not just like tweeting like government stuff and issues. Like, he's tweeting about like fucking Roseanne and shit. Like,
he wanted to fight.
He's talking
Biden.
shit. Yeah, he's talking shit.
He's making golden shower jokes. I mean, he's ruthless, man. But I really wish we didn't even get into Trump.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of at a point where I'm ready for a president that will actually push issues that are they're at the forefront.
We just look at like the party too much. Like we look at if they're a Democrat, if they're a Republican, and that's the first thing we look at. We don't look at what issues they're bringing. We're looking at what Republican issues are they bringing.
Yeah, we're in such a team mode. If my team isn't winning, then I'm going to do everything I can to go against you.
Doesn't even matter if you believe it, just to beat the other team.
Yep. And I think, from my perspective, Democrats are much more guilty of willing to for the country to lose on the issue as long as they're right.
Maybe.
I
mean,
that's just how I feel.
I mean, if you go by my opinion, I'm Republican. But if you go by the list of rules and things you have to believe to be a Republican, I'm not a Republican. But I'm not a Democrat either. It's like it's either all or nothing, and that's the problem.
Annually, I post my same Facebook post that it was probably 5 years ago when I first put it up. I quoted George Washington's warning to America about parties. He's saying that'll be the end of our country is when we're divided into parties, and we've obviously been that way for a long time. But
you said we got 300 and some million people in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Every 4 years, we get 2 people to vote on, and they're from the same 2 parties that we've had the whole time.
yeah,
Like we should have hundreds
50.
of people.
Yeah,
trying to be the president, not just 2 people. And then when it comes to vote, your vote really doesn't count because the Electoral College could vote the wrong way.
right.
But we do, like when it comes down to it, you have to dig for it. But we do have a long list of actual presidential candidates, but the only ones you hear about are the Republican and the Democrat.
I think if there were, say, 10 different parties, Yang and Tulsi Gabbard wouldn't be a part of the Democratic Party. I mean,
No.
Tulsi Gabbard's up there, like, you can see her trashing the party, and she's in a big conflict with Hillary Clinton right now. She's got to watch her back.
Yeah, she's going to die.
Yang wouldn't be a part of this group. He was the only one when the very first question of the last debate, what do you think about impeachment? He was the only one that was willing to say, and he kind of has to say this because he's in the party. He's like, I support impeachment, but every second we spend talking about this guy is 1 second that we could be talking about the issues that matter. He's the only one that's willing to say that. The rest of them are like,
Yeah, it's gross to even hear it.
yeah.
Even the impeachment process they're going through right now, it's just a shit show. It's like who can piss the furthest.
It's a clown show.
All they're using it as an impeachment as a political campaign for 2020. That's
Right.
all they're doing, and
Yeah.
this shit's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, we got to start. If I can push one idea out of this whole thing, is that we've got to start looking, at these candidates earlier the better. Because if you're somebody that says, well, I'm just going to wait, Ohio doesn't vote for this primary, which, by the way, registered Republicans can't even vote for the Democratic primary. You'd have to re-register as a Democrat if you wanted to go vote for Yang, you'd have to re-register as a Democrat just to go vote for him.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Where do you register by party at?
Yeah.
Because when I registered to vote, I didn't register by party.
Maybe I did.
Yeah, well, if you want to vote in a primary, you have to.
When the fuck is this always been this way?
Yeah, man.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah. So if you're following what I'm saying here, if you've never done it before, you'd have to get a hold of whatever Highland County Democratic Party.
Anybody should be able to vote.
No shit.
What the
Yeah, it's awful. I don't know what happens when there's a Green Party candidate. do you have to re-register if you're one of the?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I forget what I was even talking about before I went on that. I was going to push one idea, but now I can't remember what the idea was. Oh, if you're going to wait, Ohio's primary is until March. If you're going to sit around and wait until March to figure out who the best candidate might be on that side, we're only going to get two people to choose from. Trump's one of them, and the other is from this group of 10. If you're going to wait until then to figure out which of those might be the best candidate, it's too late. You've got to look now. I mean, these guys need support like at this moment. So I don't know. It's to me it's something that you got to pay attention to.
You think any of them can beat Trump?
I mean, I feel like I'm biased in this one. I don't think Biden has any chance.
No.
I personally think Trump's going to get elected in 2020. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what he does from here on out. Republicans are going to vote for Trump just to prove a point.
If I had to put money down, I would say yes, Trump wins. But there was a campaign rally where he says, you know what, the only candidate from the Democratic side that I'm worried about is somebody that comes completely out of nowhere. Andrew Yang came out of nowhere. He's another entrepreneur. He's got, if you go to his website, maybe we can post a picture of this later on, he has like 130 policies that he's ready to roll out. Everything from universal basic income to daylight savings times. I hate when these candidates are trying to figure out their policies as they go along. Like, they're up there asking Elizabeth Warren, how are you going to pay for health care? Well, that's not really she has a whole line to evade the question. When they ask Yang a question, he yields back some of his time because he has an answer for all of them, and they're all supported by data. He's like this sabermetrics presidential candidate. It's hard to argue with anything he's saying because he has hard data to back all of it up.
There are 19 states that have an open presidential primary. But so that means there's
good for them.
Yeah. So
Ohio's not one though, right?
Ohio is semi-open. I'm not quite sure what that means.
That probably means that you can re-register.
Yeah, probably
the other
some
ones
states
you
are
probably
like,
can't even do it.
Back 20 years ago, you said you were a Republican.
Yeah, you're a fucking Republican.
Can't change.
And then
you
some
can't even consider any other ideas.
And then some of them, like Oklahoma, only Democratic primary is open to independent voters.
Say that again.
Only Democratic primary is open to independent voters. So I'm guessing if you're an independent, you can only vote you can't vote Republican.
Oh, I didn't tell you how he wants to wash out lobbyist dollars, did I? Have you heard about this?
I've heard a little bit.
I forget what he called it. Democracy dollars, I think is what he calls it. It gives every person in the United States $100. The only way they can use the $100 is to support one candidate. That would wipe out lobbyist dollars by a scale of like 1 to 10. So then, you're not bound by, this lobbyist dollars to fund your campaign, which is the only way that you can keep going is to accept these huge amounts of dollars from corporations, and then you're tied to them for the rest of your political existence. You would be tied directly to you could say, I don't want your money. I got all this money coming in from them.
Corporations shouldn't even be in politics.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that benefit the most in America by politics.
Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why they shouldn't be.
Where's this $100 per voter coming from?
I don't know if he's tying that as well to the value added tax or where exactly that's coming from, but he acts like that portion wouldn't really be that big of a deal compared to what we spend on other things. Did you know that we spent $4 trillion bailing out banks after the recession?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember ever voting for any of that? Or
which recession are we talking about?
08, probably.
Yeah.
Were you guys even old enough to vote?
No.
But no, I did not vote on that, no.
So, I mean, and there was no, some of the argument is like, well, this is going to cause this massive inflation. There wasn't massive inflation when that happened. His idea is that the economy, rather than trickle down where you're giving companies breaks so that they can reduce the prices on things, that ultimately leads to us paying less money for products, right? Instead of trickle-down economy, you give money to the people, and it's a trickle-up economy. And so now we're able to pay for things that we otherwise wouldn't. I would go out tomorrow and buy a new set of tires.
Yeah.
I would probably make a couple doctor visits, things that I'd pay off some debts.
Well, after I just had this surgery a month ago, I'm going to hold off on any other surgery unless I'm going to die. Just seeing the bills that I'm getting.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that extra $1,000 a month. And it's been more than $1,000 a month. Yeah. You can't, I hate to bring it back to healthcare, but you can't afford healthcare.
Yeah, I'm sort of agnostic at this point about healthcare. I don't really know or have the experience with it. I very rarely go. What I do know that I'm paying a shit ton for health insurance, and anytime I go to the doctor, I still have to pay a bunch of money.
Yeah, until you get $2,000-$3,000 spent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had a major surgery, but just having a child.
Yeah.
When your wife gives birth, we literally had, it was like a $3,000 that we had to pay just on the epidural.
It's ridiculous, man. Trump just passed a bill this week, I believe, that requires all hospitals to basically have a menu of their prices for what shit costs. So he said within the same hospital, if you go to this doctor, it might cost X amount of dollars, and if you go to this other doctor in the same hospital, it might cost 10X. Just within the same wing of a hospital. So he's eliminating that. So can appreciate that.
So yeah, I mean, Trump does some good stuff. Obama did some good stuff. It's just we can't find somebody that doesn't fuck up every other decision he makes.
I feel like the idea of a president is outdated.
Absolutely.
It just needs to go to full-on republic.
What would that look like, you think?
Just the Senate.
So it would just be 100 people that are...
Yeah.
I'm just got like Star Wars in my head right now. Like that shit didn't turn out well.
Well, yeah.
I don't watch Star Wars. What happens?
The Senate gets corrupted by evil.
Yeah, by the dark side.
Which could happen with corporations and everything else.
Senator Palpatine.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
We could end up with Siths in the fucking...
Yeah.
So if you got some Skywalker in your blood,
that's the robots
you're
that are
fucked.
on the way. He does have sort of his Yang version of Drain the Swamp, which is pretty appealing to me.
What is it, the Republican side now?
Huh?
You're going to drain the Republican
He's going to
side?
drain the Republican swamp. So this one actually makes a lot of sense to me. So Bill and Hillary Clinton are making $125,000 to $175,000 every time they go and speak. I don't know who the fuck wants to listen to these fools anyway, but he says the reason for this is like, if you make it. Do you know how much money the president makes per year?
400,000.
Got it. Yeah. Isn't that a pretty fucking low number for the leader of the free world?
Yeah, and no, because I don't think it's 400. Was it 225, 250 after you're out of office? But you get that money for life.
Yeah, that's true too.
Is it?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I'll double check just to do it. But
and you get all the benefits still too.
Like you always have
security.
Yeah.
He paints the picture as that's, and here's the other reason is that the entire time these people are in office, they still have the market where they're probably valued 10 times or 20 times what they're valued at while they're in office. The president's making 400,000, so the senator that's making 150, they're thinking, God, I could be outside making $15 million. I'm not going to shit on these companies. What you got, Trev?
It says former presidents are paid a pension. I'm using that term loosely. As of 2017, $207,000 a year.
I mean, that's a lot of money for you and I. We're talking about the fucking president, though.
Yeah, but he's not doing anything after he's out.
But I mean,
And they are all been living to be like 100. Jimmy
Yeah.
Carter's still alive.
but you also got to think about like if they raised it to like let's just $4 million a year.
That's that's the number he uses. Did you read this?
I didn't. I really didn't. Let's just say $4 million a year. I mean, we had Trump run for $400,000 a year. What kind of fucking people are we gonna have running to make $4 million a year?
Well, his theory is that if you're making a market rate, basically what you would be making on the outside, if you're making that kind of money while you're serving the public, you're not going to be as tied to the market, so you can govern without having the strings tied to you of the market kind of pulling at your decisions.
It just sounds like Andrew Yang wants to make $4 million a year.
I read that too.
I mean, you can't really throw that number out there when you're running to be president. Now, you might not know, is some of this stuff, did he come up with these facts before he started running for president? It would really help his case in this one if he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
He announced his presidency in 2017. So he's been running for a really long time.
No, I'm saying, like, when did he throw out some of these stats, like a president should make like $4 million?
Well, he wrote this book back then, too. I mean, this was,
So it's
a
about
while
the same
back.
time.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he knew he was running for president, but, I mean, even if that took place after he was in office, I think the point is that, you're removing the incentive to play to lobbyists and to corporations.
Oh, I could see that side of it, yeah.
I got a bunch of other random notes, but I'm not sure how to tie them in. So, where are we at?
We're at a good stopping point for this one. What are we doing next week?
Minimalism.
Nice.
Why you got too much shit in your house.
Love it. We do.
So on this side, we're talking about president should make $4 million. On the next episode, we're going to talk about fuck that. He don't need that. He just needs a fucking chair, a bed, two pairs of jeans, and a shirt.
Absolutely.
Man, can we talk about it a second?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, give it a couple minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to the Minimalist podcast?
No, never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, you have to check them out. Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua.
Yeah, that's the book I'm
Fields
reading.
Melbourne. Yeah.
They've got a Netflix documentary too.
Some people you just come across in life where you're just like, you feel like that's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like that's kind of how I felt when I came across those two guys. Like we're always in like this rat race of more, and fucking why?
Dude, I walk around
Why
my
do we need
house
it?
and I look at some of the shit we got, and it's like, why did we ever buy
Why
this?
the hell? Yeah. I would almost rather, Christmas is coming up. I would rather just instead of, asking, family for toys for Silas, that just gift all of us experiences. Like give us, instead of buying toys, buy a trip to the zoo,
Or just take them. Like, do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Christmas toys last a week,
If that.
and they forget about them, break them, don't even open them.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
I always picture somebody getting those racetrack, like the Hot Wheels racetrack.
yeah.
They play with them on Christmas Day, then the pieces are gone, and there goes $50.
But you know what everybody does need in their house? An Amazon Echo. And if you click that link
Beautiful.
in the description, you'll be supporting us, and we thank you.
What's that link for the Audible books?
The Audible book link, if you want to get 30 days free along with a book and support us, it is Audible Trial /Idea Factory Pod, and I will put that in the description too.
Perfect. I learned something this week.